There is one habit that quietly shapes your entire financial life. It does not feel dangerous. It does not look like a mistake. In fact, it feels normal. But this habit repeats every time money enters your life, and over time. It determines whether you stay stuck or begin to build real wealth. Most people believe the problem is income. They think if they earned more, everything would change. But look closely. Many people earn more and still struggle, and others earn less but move forward. This means the difference is not income, it is behavior. The habit begins in a simple moment. Money arrives, and you immediately think about spending it. Bills, wants, small rewards. Everything feels justifying, and because it feels natural, you never question it. But this automatic reaction is where everything starts to go wrong. When spending comes first, growth never has a chance. There is no space left to build anything. No room for saving, no room for investing. Just a constant cycle of earning and using, over and over again, without progress. This cycle feels normal because it is common. Everyone around you is doing the same thing. And when something is common, it rarely feels like a problem. But common behavior often leads to common results, and common results rarely create wealth. The habit is not obvious because it works slowly. It does not create sudden failure. It creates quiet stagnation, and over time, that stagnation becomes your reality. The moment money arrives is where everything is decided. Most people react instantly, assigning it to expenses without thinking. This reaction feels natural, but it removes control. And without control, money follows the same path every time, disappearing without building anything meaningful for the future. The habit continues because it is comfortable. Spending gives immediate satisfaction. It solves small problems, creates short-term relief, and feels like progress. But comfort hides the long-term cost. Because every time spending comes first, growth is delayed again. This is why the problem is not visible at first. There is no sudden loss, no clear failure, just time passing without change. And because nothing feels wrong in the moment, the habit continues without resistance. To break this pattern, you must interrupt it. Not with a big decision, but with a small pause. When money enters your life, you stop. You do not act immediately. This pause creates space, and in that space, you gain control over what happens next. Control changes everything, because now you can decide instead of react. You can choose a different direction, and direction, repeated over time, creates a completely different outcome. The next step is simple but powerful. Before you spend anything, a portion must be removed and protected. Not later, not if something is left first. This is how you reverse the habit that kept you stuck. Once you protect a portion first, the flow of money changes. It no longer disappears instantly. It follows a path you created, and this path begins to build something that did not exist before. It may feel small at the beginning, but it is the first step toward real growth. Most people struggle here because they feel like they are losing something. It feels like restriction, but in reality, it is structure. And structure creates freedom over time, not limitation, because it allows you to control where your money goes instead of watching it disappear. This protected portion becomes the base of your future. It is not there to sit still. It is there to grow. And growth is what turns small actions into meaningful results over time. At this stage, consistency matters more than anything else. Not the amount, not the timing, but the repetition. The same action, every time money enters your life. This is what creates momentum. Momentum is what most people never reach, because they start, then stop. They try, then return to old habits. And every time they stop, they reset their progress. But if you continue, something changes. Growth begins to build on previous growth. And what once felt small begins to expand. As this process continues, your system begins to carry itself. Each time money enters, the same action repeats, without hesitation. Nothing is left to chance. And because nothing is random, your results stop being random as well. They become stable, predictable, and stronger over time. Now your money begins to behave differently. It no longer depends only on your effort. Even small returns start building on each other. This is the beginning of compounding. It may look slow at first, but it creates a force that grows stronger the longer you stay consistent. Most people never experience this because they expect fast results. They look for visible change too early, and when they do not see it, they stop. But stopping breaks the system, and without the system, growth cannot continue. The real difference comes from staying when nothing feels exciting, when progress is quiet, when results are not obvious, when it feels slow. This is where the habit proves its value, because those who continue during this phase are the ones who eventually move ahead. At this stage, your thinking changes again. You stop focusing on immediate results, you begin focusing on long-term direction. This removes pressure and allows the system to work as it was designed to work. Now your financial life has structure. Money enters, a portion is protected, and that portion is directed toward growth. This flow repeats without interruption, and over time, repetition creates strength that becomes difficult to break. As this structure continues, your confidence becomes grounded in real progress. You are no longer guessing or hoping for change. You can see your system working step by step. This clarity removes doubt and replaces it with control, and control makes it easier to continue without hesitation. Your behavior also begins to shift naturally. You stop spending without thinking. You begin choosing with intention. This does not feel forced. It feels like clarity. And this clarity reduces unnecessary loss while strengthening your ability to build over time. Compounding now becomes more visible. Growth begins to build on previous growth. What once felt slow starts to gain speed. And this acceleration is not luck. It is the result of consistency applied over time without interruption. Most people never reach this stage because they interrupt the process. They chase quick results, react to no's, and lose focus. Every interruption resets momentum, and without momentum, growth never becomes powerful. You avoid this by staying focused on direction, not on speed, not on comparison, but on consistency. Because consistency always wins over time, even when it feels slow in the moment. Your system now works with less effort. What once required discipline becomes automatic, and when behavior becomes automatic, progress continues without resistance. At this point, your progress becomes visible in a way that feels real, not dramatic, but steady and undeniable. Your money is no longer disappearing without direction. It is growing. And this change confirms that your system is working exactly as intended. This creates a new level of confidence, not based on hope, but on evidence. You trust your actions because you have seen their results, and this trust allows you to continue even when progress feels slow. Your identity begins to change. You are no longer someone who struggles with money. You become someone who builds it, and this identity shapes your decisions without effort, aligning your actions with long-term growth. Opportunities begin to look different. You are not asking what you can spend. You are asking what can grow. This shift opens paths that were always there, but invisible to your previous mindset. Others may not understand this change. They continue reacting, spending, and repeating the same patterns. Their behavior may pressure you to return to old habits. This is where many people fall back, but if you stay consistent, your results will separate you over time. Not instantly, but clearly. And that clarity reinforces the system you have built. At this stage, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. While others continue losing money without understanding why, you are building something that grows over time. Your system works quietly, but consistently, and each decision you make strengthens the next one instead of resetting your progress. You also begin to feel less pressure, not because you stopped working, but because your progress is no longer tied only to your effort. Your money contributes. Your system supports you. And this removes the constant urgency that once controlled your decisions. Time now works in your favor. Instead of watching it pass, you use it to multiply your results. Every step forward adds to the last one. Every decision builds momentum, and over time, this accumulation creates something strong and stable. Momentum carries you forward. You no longer need to push as hard as before. The system moves with you. And this is where change becomes permanent, because it is supported by structure instead of effort alone. Then you realize something important. There was never a complicated reason why your money disappeared. It was always the same habit repeating without control. And once you saw it clearly, everything began to change. You stopped reacting and started directing. And that single shift created a completely different outcome over time. Most people will never see this clearly. They will keep searching for better jobs, higher income, or faster opportunities, but they will ignore the simple habit that controls everything. And because they ignore it, they stay stuck, repeating the same cycle without understanding why nothing changes. You chose a different path. You focused on behavior instead of circumstances. You understood that what you repeat matters more than what you know. And that understanding gave you control over your financial direction. From here, your progress becomes predictable. Not because you know every outcome, but because your system is stable. It does not depend on luck or perfect timing. It depends on repetition, and repetition creates results over time. There will still be moments when progress feels slow, moments when nothing seems to change. But those moments do not stop you anymore, because you understand that growth builds quietly before it becomes visible. Looking back, the change feels small, just one habit repeated every time money enters your life, but that habit created a completely different path. A path where money builds instead of disappearing without direction. This is the truth most people ignore. You do not stay poor because of what you lack. You stay poor because of what you repeat. Change the habit, and you change everything.